Won't you come and meet me at the movies? Won't you come and watch a flick with me? Famous scenes with drama queens and heroes acting out there on a silver screen. Come grab a seat, the popcorn is on me.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Hi there, and welcome into a special edition of Meet Me in the Movies. This is Thomas Manning, and we are smack dab in the middle of award season, which means we have more opportunities for virtual press conferences. And in these press conferences, we have questions that are submitted ahead of time that the moderator then chooses and then delivers to the talent. And that's what we have working with here with a press conference for Wicked for Good with stars Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. And I had a chance to ask a question of both of them. It was a variation of the same question, and I will pitch that over to them now. And thank you so much for watching and listening on Meet Me in the Movies as we are in a press conference here for Wicked for Good with Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo.
I'm a public figure now. People expect me to fly. Be encouraging.
So what are some aspects of Jon Chu's directorial style and guidance as a filmmaker that unlock the fullest potential of this story from your perspective as an actor?
He's so playful, so playful. He's so curious. There is a want to get at the core of what each of the characters wants, and however we need to find it, we will find it. He sort of started to learn. I think everybody has their own language when it comes to making the art that they want to make or playing a character the way they want to play them. And he learned my language. We would always do different takes and we'd always capture things. And then I would say, I use the phrase shits and giggles. And that is just like one for just trying one to just whatever's left in the tank, to just let it be, to throw it all out there. And he started to realize that if I was able to have the chance to just play and do something, throw anything at the wall, we would always get what we needed. So I would exhaust everything and do as much as I can. And then I would just do one to do one. And quite often that would be the take. He just knew that that would be what it was. He would be like, it's either the first or the last with you. So we're just going to go until we have the last, or we'll go until we have the first. Whichever it is, we'll go. And there's such a joy about doing that. There's such a joy about going on the journey with you that it was so, I had so much fun, and I felt so safe to dive in. He's a very special human being, just a very special human being, and an incredible director, just because there's so much because he trusts you, and because he believes in you, you just don't want to let him down. And there is a part of me that so loved being on the set just because it was him directing. If I could stay an extra hour or two just doing something, I would stay, because I loved working with him. He just really got, and this sounds like such a cliche thing to say, and it sounds very blasé, but it's not. He really got me, and that's all anyone can ask for, really. Yeah.
No one believed in you more than I did. Alphaba. They're coming for you. I've heard it said.
What stands out to you about Jon Chu's voice as a filmmaker, whether that be narratively, technically, or a combination of both, that made him the perfect director for this immense project?
I think who he is as a person is just as special and extraordinary as who he is as a visionary and as a director, as a leader. And I think those two things hold hands perfectly and lends itself to make something like Wicked. Like, he just has such an innate understanding of the human experience, what it feels like to be othered or made to feel like you don't belong, and also what it feels like to watch that happen from the inside or from the whatever. He's able to navigate humanness, and he leads with so much empathy that I don't think there was really a better person for this to tell the story. I think it was a part of his destiny. But from a technical standpoint, one of the things that I love the most about him that also was really helpful when it came to making this particular movie was the balance between his meticulous preparation and perfectionism, and his freedom and his ability, his curiosity, his wanting to play, his encouraging of improv, and just seeing what happens. Once we've got it in the can, one take how it was planned, he's just like, let's catch butterflies and see what happens. What would these two say? And he trusts his actors. He loves his collaborators. Every person who works underneath him is cared for, respected, thought about. He's never impatient. He's able to balance everything with such ease and grace and respect that everyone felt safe to give everything they had at all times to this thing. And it makes me emotional to talk about. He's a really special person.
Because I knew you. Think of what we could do together.
And a huge thank you to Cynthia, Erivo, and Ariana Grande for spending time with Thomas and sharing those thoughtful reflections on John M. Chu's directing style. Hearing them talk about John, not just as a filmmaker, but as a collaborator and a leader, it really sets the tone for this special edition of Meet Me at the Movies. And as I listened back to the press conference and their answers, I found myself thinking about the emotional weight that both of these women brought to their roles. And not just about the honest preparation and the vulnerability, but also the imagination that went into wrapping Glinda and Elphaba into Wicked for Good. When you watch Wicked for Good, one of the first things that you're going to notice is how much Glinda changes. It's not just on the surface, but deep underneath that perfect bubble of charm and confidence. Ariana Grande didn't just step into Glinda. She lived in every corner of her emotional world. And in the press conference, Ariana talked about the heart, the homework, and the honest-to-goodness soul work that it took to bring Glinda to life in both of these films, sometimes shooting the emotional shifts of these films within the same week for both films. So here's Ariana talking about how she mapped Glinda from childhood to heartbreak to truth long before the cameras even rolled.
Like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of the week, we would be filming part one, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we'd be filming part two. So it was simultaneous. The shoes were on for what felt like forever, and in the best way. I just wanted to kind of make sure that I knew who she was as well as possible before we even got there. So even things about her that you never got to see on screen if they weren't referenced in a scene, if they weren't, talked about or performed. I just wanted to kind of make sure that even in the first film, beneath the bubbly, shiny, perfect exterior, her, bubble of privilege, I like to call it, there's a person underneath that has a lot of insecurities, a lot of little wounds that, contribute to her need for all of that external validation. And I wanted to make sure that they were always present. So I kind of spent a lot of time mapping her out and her childhood, what did it look like? And it's a beautiful privilege to play a character that has so much light and so much darkness, and to finally be able to get to spend some more time with that darkness in this second film, I think was really a treat.
I really did love that, the reminder that even characters wrapped in sunshine and sparkle can sometimes carry these interior storms, these internal demons. And Ariana didn't just imagine those layers, she built them into Glinda's emotional DNA. But stepping into Glinda wasn't just about feelings, it was also about the vocal work. It was about the physical work and also the preparations that allowed Ariana to stay fully present through every single emotional swing. She talked also about the discipline, the training, and the commitment to making sure that Glenda's voice came from a very authentic place, not just a technical one.
I just wanted to make sure that she had her own set of human triggers, separate from my own. Made sure they were available for me, made sure they had been thought a lot about her childhood, where those beliefs came from that were projected onto her. And also preparation, making sure my voice was ready to go. Extensive vocal training every single day for 3 months before even my first audition, so that I wouldn't have to think about how the notes were going to come out in the room, and I could just honor the honesty of what's happening in the scene.
And what's remarkable is that all of that preparation allowed Ariana to handle some of the film's most emotionally demanding moments, including the song For Good. That's the emotional heartbeat of Wicked for Good. Ariana shared this really beautiful detail about shooting that scene and how it wasn't actually planned for that day, but something changed the schedule, and with her being grounded and Glenda's emotional triggers, it allowed her to really drop right in to the truth of that moment.
I liked the going back and forth, even on days when you had no idea what the next day was going to be. Like For Good was shot on a weather cover day. So we were supposed to be outside at Munchkinland doing something completely different. And we ended up shooting For Good, this emotional climax of the movie, on a random day. And I remember I loved that so much, because for me, it's all about the preparation. And if you know the person from the inside out before you get there, you can kind of throw everything away and forget about it and then respond honestly in the moment. And that's kind of my favorite thing, is that spontaneous call and response that we do as actors. And I loved the back and forth. It was a thrill. It was the biggest challenge, of course, as well, emotionally, but it was so gratifying.
You are watching the Meet Me at the Movies Wicked for Good special with great interviews right here on C19 TV. Stick around after this quick intermission. We will be back with more on Meet Me at the Movies.
Won't you come and meet me at the movies? Won't you come and watch a flick?
As Cleveland County's premier event facility, LaGrande Center is the ideal location for any event. The LaGrande Center is located 45 minutes west of Charlotte, 45 minutes north of Spartanburg, and just a little over an hour east of Asheville. Whether you're a small business looking for a place for an off-site meeting or a bride looking for that special location for her wedding, LaGrande Center is the perfect place for you.
Washington Outreach Ministries is one of the largest emergency food pantry in Cleveland County. We feed about 15,000 people a month. We have bi-weekly distribution every other Friday, and we serve them with all type of product, not just food product, but all type of necessities. Anything that they need, we have here and we can supply it. Food is available every day, but we offer bi-weekly distribution so the mass of Cleveland County can come through and enjoy some of the food products that we have here.
Won't you come and meet me at the movies? Won't you come and watch a flick?
Hi there, Noel T. Manning II here. Welcome back to Meet Me at the Movies, the Wicked for Good special spotlight with interviews, insights, and much, much more. So let's get right back to some of the interviews on Meet Me at the Movies.
No good deed goes unpunished.
In Wicked for Good, if Ariana Grande gives us Glinda's internal glow and emotional unraveling, I believe that Cynthia Erivo gives us Elphaba's fire. Not just the power in her voice, but the vulnerability, the isolation, and the courage that shape one of the most iconic characters in modern music storytelling. Listening to Cynthia talk about stepping into Elphaba is like listening to someone who understands the weight of expectation and still finds a way, she still finds a way to reinvent that with raw humanity. She doesn't just play Elphaba, she feels her, and she invites us into the character as well. Now, here's Cynthia sharing how she approaches the emotional layering that makes Elphaba's journey so unforgettable.
I think I knew that it would be a life-changing project from the beginning. I don't think I knew how. I think I didn't quite know the gravity of, please excuse the pun, of what it would be. But I knew from the beginning that it would be something that would change my life. I knew it was something that would challenge me. I knew it was something that would change the way I see my art or increase the love I have for it. Yeah.
And if you think about Cynthia's connection to the music, it is truly extraordinary. When she talked about crafting Elphaba's new song, building it from the ground up, you could hear it in Cynthia's voice, just how personal this work was for her.
Why do I love this place?
The music is sort of like my other language. And so whenever I get the chance to really dive in to music, I am in heaven. So to work on the new song in Wicked with Stephen Schwartz was, one, an honor to work with him, and two, just really, really fascinating to discover and mine it for the story that was true to Elphaba. Because it's one thing to sort of sing a new song, and it's another to be able to make it this version of the character's own. And that was just, it was lovely.
And if you really want to understand what Cynthia brings to Elphaba, what really makes her performance special, I think it's this moment right here. She talks about revealing a version of a character that we've really never seen before, a softer, more fragile, and a more human Elphaba.
And I was really proud of the vulnerability that we were able to achieve in For Good, because I think that there's a choice to back away from the hurt and pain that they both have to experience. There's a choice to sort of avoid it, but we ran headlong into it. And I'm really proud of that. I think previously, Elphaba has often been thought of as like a really strong character who knows herself and is very, very confident. And I think that we've been able to crack open her vulnerability, crack open a softer side of her that hasn't necessarily been on show before, to reveal the real humanity within, and to crack open a weaker side of her that has to sort of let go of things. And that's something that I'm really proud of, that we've sort of humanized this character, made her really, three-dimensional, someone whose heart really beats, who has guttural instinct, who has heartbreak and loss and grief and hurt and pain and love and lust and all of those things and desire. And we've been able to sort of make that real.
Cynthia also offered a beautiful reflection on one of the biggest themes of the film, the idea of what we call good and evil, what that means. And she says it's not always what the perspective of people think it is. As she unpacks this, she really helps us to understand the richness of how she sees the character of Elphaba.
I've never seen Elphaba as an evil character, but I think what I guess what was clarified for me is that we perception is everything. What we see is good and what we see is evil can be warped and shifted depending on who we are looking at and through what eyes, through what lens we're looking through. So if we, depending on how you feel about a certain type of person, depending on how you feel about the skin the person is living in, depending on how you feel a person sounds or looks, is what is the lens we look through. And that can shift perspective. And how we use the word good, is it really good, or is it a sort of an apparition of good? The difference between what good actually is and what good can be perceived to be, or what evil actually is and what evil can be perceived to be, and who we can actually lay the blame on and how easy it is to push it on someone else. That, I think, is what was sort of like demystified for me, you know, that perception, it really is the thing that shifts the way we see good or evil. Yeah.
Now, there's no way you can talk about the two films, Wicked and Wicked for Good, without exploring the role that music has in shaping the emotional truth of this story, how every lyric and every note becomes a doorway to who the characters are. And here is Cynthia talking about how that is a doorway to Elphaba.
First, I look at lyrics. Lyrics for me are sort of they're like the jump off point. They're the touchstone. If you go back to the lyric and you know what it is you're talking about, what you're saying, what's the story you're trying to tell, then the melody will be informed. So you have your set melody, and whatever sort of shifts you decide to make, whatever lilt you decide to make, is informed by the story you're trying to tell. So we'll go back to I'm Not That Girl. Instead of jumping straight into the lyric, hands touch, eyes meet, sudden silence, sudden heat, easy. And it's beautiful melody, but the lyrics are hands touch, eyes meet, sudden silence, sudden heat. And when we were recording it, when we were doing it for film, John realized that it had come after a really intense moment of connection. And now was a moment of reflection. So there's loads of silence before she even says the first word. And in order to come into the song, it's sort of like the admission that this exists. So there's a trepidation. Hands touch, eyes meet, sudden silence, sudden heat. And now it's not so much about just saying the words, it's now about understanding what actually happened in this moment. Our hands touch, our eyes meet, there was silence, and then there was heat. You know, and that for me is the process. It's like you start with the lyric, you take the melody, and you combine to find out what story we're actually telling. And when you're in situ, you can then decide how much detail to put in it, how much space, how much whether you need to pause, whether there's aspirate. And when you say aspirate, it means like air in the song, the tone with which you sing it with. Or is it confident? No good deed goes unpunished, which is a forward force, which is a forward push, because the decision is already made, right? In the previous, decision hasn't been made. There's still doubt. So that's my process. I do it bit by bit. And then when you learn the whole story, when you can find the journey through it, then the push and pull starts to happen in it. Yeah.
Cynthia believes that this film and this role in particular is something that will stand the test of time, whether it's her on film or anyone else, because of the importance of what it means. And here she reflects on the power of the Wicked and Wicked for Good franchise.
The way in which people have connected with these characters, and the way I've connected with the people who made this even possible in the first place. I feel really lucky. I feel really grateful. This has been the ride of a lifetime. I was doing a talk last night, and this young girl sort of shot up out of her seat and walked up to the stage where I was talking, and she said, I want to tell you that this character's changed my life, and it's made me feel really confident, and I felt, you know, really scared sometimes, and it's these stories that keep coming from people who have watched this piece. It just it really warms my heart, and to be a part of something that does that to people is a privilege. And I think that's the thing that will remain with me 15, 20, 25, 30 years from now, that to play a character like this wasn't just an adventure, but it changed things. It helped people. That work like this can actually shift the way people feel and think about themselves and others. And that is that's really special.
Now, of course, Wicked for Good gives audiences something they've never really seen before, Glinda's true turning point. It's the moment that she stops performing goodness and she chooses to become good. Ariana talked about how that moment is not just the song, but it really is about transformation.
I mean, it was daunting and also so incredible, the privilege of a lifetime to originate a Stephen Schwartz song. But, you know, of course, there's a scary element. It's a new piece. So to be trusted with that was all of the right kinds of nerve-wracking, and also just such an honor. But what I love most about it is that it is such a narrative piece for her. I'm so glad that we get to see her experience that moment of change, that to make that choice to begin the chapter of being truly good, not performing goodness, not a facade of goodness, but to put down the wand and actually become truly good. I love that we get to share that moment with her, because it happens in the wings of the Broadway show. You know, you see the before and after moments, but to see that moment is a gift. And also just sonically, from a sonic perspective, I love that she's singing a little bit differently in it. It's like halfway through the song, after she looks down the closet and sees all of her memories from, you know, easier, purer times, she really opens up and sings vocally in a way that sounds like her guard is down. And I'm proud of it and grateful for it, for her as a character, and also grateful for the opportunity as a performer.
What struck me in listening to Ariana is how thoughtfully she approached Glinda's interior world. Not just the charm, but the courage, the confusion, and the grief, and also the growth. You're watching Meet Me at the Movies, the Wicked for Good special, right here on C19 TV.
I knew you. You're the only friend I ever had. Because I knew you.
And I've had so many friends.
I have been changed for good.
But only one that mattered.
I'm off to see the wizard.
I'm Dorothy Manning II, and you hear Toto in the background. So for Toto, for Thomas Manning, and for the entire cast and crew, thanks for joining us. Check this film out in theaters this holiday season. And until next time, I'm Dorothy Manning II, and that is a wrap.
Many films to view until we meet again. Next time we see you, we'll gladly fill you in. We'll tell about the happy and the sad ones. We'll talk about the good ones and the bad ones. Many films to view till we meet again.